Welcome everybody to our talk today with Koby Blanchfield. Koby is a Dr. Vota instructor, been a Dr. Vota instructor since 1995, and she's a senior instructor now, which means she teaches all of the levels of everything that you can possibly learn in the Dr. Vota school. She's also a very experienced teacher in the Aestheticians stream, and she has been an invited speaker at many international beauty therapy fairs.
And so, thanks for inviting me, Jan. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. I was first invited by the International Dermal Institute, whose headquarters were in Los Angeles, but they have a branch office in Sydney, in New South Wales. And in 1998, I did my first class for the International Dermal Institute in Australia. And the classes were focused at that time on neck and face. And so we did neck and face and advanced neck and face classes. And at that time, the focus has been on neck and face. And everybody from the aesthetics point of view always wonders why we don't say face and neck. And I find that very interesting. And so it's from a lymphatic point of view, which is where all our classes are based on. And so we do the treatment of the neck before we do any other part of the body. And so this will influence the drainage from the face. It will influence the drainage from the rest of the body too, actually. But more about that later.
How have the advanced estheticians courses changed lately? Because I know that you've just actually rewritten the advanced body course, which is the one that we're going to be offering in Australia later this year. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that advanced body course and how it has changed over time.
First of all, I should mention we have two streams of teaching with the Dr. Vota School. The first stream is for therapists and healthcare professionals, and the second stream is estheticians. And with the aesthetic stream, the focus is on skin care for every aspect of the body and how the skin mends and how it responds to different therapies and traumas and whatever else that may happen. So with the advanced body course, it used to be that we did the first level of training, the level 1 training, as we do for healthcare professionals. And then we did the advanced body class, but we didn't actually hold it for more than a couple of years. And that was simply because, even though I took my training for that, it was simply because there didn't seem to be an interest in the spa industry or in any of the aesthetic industry at that time. So interest waned, but it didn't mean that I stopped doing the work. So fast forward to now, and we come to realize that there are lots of estheticians, as well as probably therapists, who would like to focus more on the beauty aspect and the holistic health aspect of Dr. Vota's manual of drainage. So from this, we started talking about what I was doing in clinic. And in clinic, I see everything, a soup to nuts, basically. And so we would see lymphatic pathologies or problems, but we also saw a lot of cosmetic surgeries and skincare issues that were needing to come up. And we realized, we're doing this all the time, but we haven't actually looked at specifics. And so that's what we've geared the advanced body course toward, is the specifics of what's likely to walk in the door, how do you deal with it, and what you can expect to see.
So I just would like to touch on that a little bit, Koby, because I know that for you as a lymphedema therapist also, there's a big crossover in between the lymphatic pathologies and the non-lymphatic pathologies surgeries. Can you just make a little bit of a divide for us, or a little bit of a description on how the advanced body course would approach those kinds of cosmetic surgeries and what they will not cover in the advanced body course?
Oh, that's an excellent question, actually. So when we look at what we will be working with in terms of advanced body, we will not be working on the neck and face. We will be working on the neck, but we will leave the face for another class completely, simply because the face has so much more application in terms of issues and skincare and surgical procedures, etc., and fillers and whatnot. What we focus on in this class is everything from the face down, from the chin down, basically. And so it's important to note that cosmetic surgery is only done on healthy bodies. And that's the big premise of the work we do. And also, I think it's really important to note the extreme advantage of knowing and having a good basic technique to promote preoperative care before going into any of the body parts whatsoever, the body from head to toe, really. We would say that preoperative is the gold standard when it comes to, having excellent results with any of the procedures. We will be looking at cosmetic procedures, primarily things like the breast augmentation or breast reconstruction in terms of raising, lowering, that type of thing. But we will not be looking at post cancer therapy reconstruction whatsoever. We will be looking at tummy tucks and C-sections because those are typically done with normal healthy bodies. So we won't be doing, we will not be covering abdominoplasty. We will not be covering brachioplasty or thigh-plasty, simply because the amount of tissue that is removed is very, very different from what happens with a regular tummy tuck, for example, or a C-section. So we won't be covering those. We will be covering liposuction, the 360. We will be covering butt lift, butt implant as well, although more people are having explant these days, I would say, when it comes to that, and that we cover too as well.
Okay, and that's all going to be really interesting. Just a couple of things I'll just touch on quickly. You mentioned already the two streams for the therapists and the estheticians. So just to note quickly that in the esthetician stream, anybody that's eligible for the therapist stream is automatically eligible for the esthetician stream. And also the esthetician stream is open to people who have a diploma in beauty therapy or a diploma in aromatherapy or clinical cosmetic, the degrees now that we have in clinical cosmeticians. So these people are eligible for the advanced estheticians courses, but not the therapist course.
That is correct. And they need to have the first level of training, the basic hand skills. And we try and bring this up to excellent hand skills with this class. And that's
important about the plastic surgery work in particular, is that really excellent hand skills. And that leads me into another question, because I know that when we first offer these courses in Australia, I suspect that they're going to be pretty much half filled with existing phototherapists. So just give me what if somebody already has level 3, they already know how to treat those other things that you said are not going to be necessarily included in the course. Why would someone with a level 3 qualification want to come and take the advanced body course? What would be the benefit?
Well, I think the benefit is typically because we focus on skin and how the skin responds to treatment versus volume changes or anything else to do with that. So we're looking at pre-surgical intervention and then looking at how that enables us to respond more quickly to post-operative intervention. And then a lot of times people are wondering, when you look at somebody who has, for example, a liposuction in the truncal area, when they do a liposuction, they aren't paying attention to lymphatic pathways, and they often cross lymphatic pathways. They cross major watersheds, etc. And maybe they even change where the watershed will actually be after they've done a procedure. So we have to look at that as we're working directly pre and post-op with these folks. And so it might be a little bit different from what we pay attention to when we're looking at interventions that we do for more serious lymphatic pathology, where we're looking at shifting fluid from a non-functional area to a functional area. And with aesthetics, everything is functional because they don't do aesthetic procedure unless the body's healthy.
Yeah. And I'm just picking up on, there's a couple of things that I'm picking up on there. One is that you've mentioned a couple of times the pre-operative MLD, and each time you mention it, I'm reminded of our lovely therapist Cheryl King in Sydney, now retired, who was a real groundbreaker in Australia for working with a plastic surgeon in his clinic. And that was part of the package, the normal package for them, was that Cheryl would do 2 pre-operative treatments right up close to the surgery and then 1 post-operative treatment. And that was part of the surgical package. And then they went on and booked separate treatments with her. And I'm just thinking we sometimes we don't really value enough the pre-surgical work that we do. And so I just wanted to pick up on that and reinforce how important that is. And the second thing is, when we're talking about perhaps lymphedema therapists come in taking the advanced body, it's the hand skills. It's the lightness and the precision that we need for those post-surgical treatments. And I've picked up on you talking about that a couple of times as being very useful for therapists that might have been out there working with a lot of lymphedema to get reconnected with some of the lighter, more delicate work that you'll be covering in the advanced aestheticians.
Yes, and some of the techniques that we're going to be using, I mean, they've already discovered or they already use. But in particular, there's a couple of things that we use with, let's say, for example, postnatal work on the abdomen. And it's a technique that actually hasn't been taught, which I was taught originally with Hildegard Wittlinger, but we don't teach it now as part of the basic training, the level 1 training. There's a few things like that, but also I think just in terms of good technique gets good results and excellent technique gets excellent results. I think that would be why, as somebody who's working in the field of lymphatic, manual lymphatic drainage, I think that's why they would be interested in coming to the class. So I think, it applies to therapists, but it also applies to estheticians. And often I think in the past, there's been a marked separation between people who can do lymphatic drainage and be able to do it properly. And the aesthetic focus is on holistic health and wellness. And I think this is something that maybe some of our therapists are now becoming more interested in.
Yeah, I agree too. I've got one last question. I know that you've literally just rewritten this course to bring it up to with modern procedures and so forth. But I know that you have been teaching, you've taught a few advanced neck and face classes for us here. Can I ask you, what's your favorite thing about teaching estheticians classes generally? What do you really like about teaching these classes?
I think what I really like teaching about is just focusing on technique and the actual application for affected tissue, and also being able to explain where problem scenarios arise when you're looking at a procedure and how everybody's body reacts differently. And so being able to share the knowledge and the opportunity to share personal experience with people who take the course and be able to put it to good work, then they can immediately take it and start using it without having to think about my seriousness of the situation or whatever it's involved. So I feel like people immediately walk away, whereas often with the therapy courses, they walk away and there's a little bit of trepidation because they're entering into a field of healthcare that makes that they want to do a good job with, obviously, and that's why they take the course, but they feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed with the possibility of what could walk in the door. Whereas with aesthetic procedures, it's much less intimidating, I would say, because it's pretty black and white and people are healthy.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Koby, for giving us your time today to explain these new courses to us. I'm really looking forward to being a student myself. I will be in your courses at the end of this year. And I'm very grateful to you that you continue to come to Australia and teach for us, because as one of the most qualified Dr. Votter teachers on the planet, I suspect you're a very, very small handful of people that are qualified at your level, Koby. And I'm very grateful that you continue to agree to come to Australia for us. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Absolute pleasure, Jan. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay.